Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is David Beeson. I am your host for today's conversation. And my guest today is Veronica Pulido, the owner of Good Grief. We're going to be talking about her business, journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share what it's really like to build and operate a business. Veronica, welcome to the show and thank you for being here today. I would love for you to give us a little bit of background of who you are and tell us a little bit about your business as well.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I really appreciate it. And sure, I'd be happy to. I had, I guess, not the most conventional background for a startup, but I was actually a corporate, career consultant my entire career. Thought that that was what I was going to do, and I had just always felt like I was meant to do something different. Had been interested in entrepreneurship, but hadn't quite had an idea that I felt was fully worth pursuing until unfortunately a little bit of the curveballs that life throws your way, which was that about 4 years ago, my dad was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer. He
I'm
was
sorry
sick
to hear
for,
that.
thank you, I appreciate that. He was sick for 2 years, ultimately passed. And throughout that journey, me and my family, we just struggled so much to find the right resources, to know what to do, to, find in-home nurses, plan the funeral, figure out hospice. And it kind of felt like the list went on and on. And at the same time that that was happening, I was also getting married. And, the beautiful part of the story is when my dad started to take a turn for the worse, we managed to move up the wedding, plan the whole thing in 3 months. He made it, walked me down
Wow.
the aisle, and, passed a month later. But it was such a stark contrast between those two because with the wedding, I had a wedding planner, who could hold my hand throughout the process and had done hundreds of weddings. And there were great resources like The Knot and Zola that, helped with the gift registry and the invites and, all of these tools to support you. So for me, that's where the idea for Good Grief came about, where I was inspired to say, how is it that for joyful occasions, we have all of this support and we've really cracked the code, but then for end of life and caregiving, which is one of the hardest things we all have to go through, there wasn't really any support. So with Good Grief, we aim to be that. We have a platform that brings together experts, tools, resources, guidance, checklists. We have concierge services. And we're really trying to hold your hand through the process so that you don't have to go through it alone.
Yeah, that's awesome. As someone who just got married this year, you planning it in 3 months, that's crazy. I don't even know how you were able to do that. Me and my wife, we got engaged 2 years ago. We had like a year and a half to plan it. So like 3
Yeah.
months, I thought a year and a half was still wasn't long enough. So 3 months, that's crazy.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, no, I really like what y'all are building. I think it makes a lot of sense because you're definitely right. It's weird that we have all these tools for like the happy moments, even like birthday parties. It's so easy to plan
Mhm.
because there's all these websites to help you plan them, but there's nothing for, the end of life and the hard stuff. So I really like what y'all are building.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And, unfortunately, it's a topic we don't really like to talk about, right? Like we plan for births, we plan for weddings, but, what we've found, and especially, I get throughout this process, I've interviewed a lot of people and I get to hear their stories. And so often do you hear about, oh, we didn't want to talk about it, we didn't want to plan for it. And inevitably people are caught off guard and families are left to scramble. So there's just so much opportunity to help people throughout this process.
Yeah. So kind of setting the stage for the audience a little bit. So generally speaking, what's your current ownership structure like? Are you the sole founder and owner? Do you have a business partner, outside investors?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're fairly new. So, I've really only been working full time on Good Grief about 6 months. So right now I am a solo owner. I'm definitely interested in bringing on, either a technical co-founder or someone that, really complements my skill set and can help me scale. I've been fortunate to where, the mission really resonates with a lot of people. So I have a great group of interns. I have about 6 interns, and I have a great group of advisors, that range from grief therapists to estate lawyers to, ICU nurses. So they've all been very gracious with, their time and mentorship. But for the most part, it is me, doing the day to day and trying to figure out how we scale and how we grow and building the prototype and testing things out. What's been really cool is that, with AI and where technology is today, I do feel like I've been able to make a lot of progress that maybe 5 years ago I wouldn't have been able to do. So it's been cool to be able to build the prototype myself with no code solutions and get it in front of people and have them react and just get a little closer to what we'll ultimately build long term.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about what role you currently play in the business. So like a day in the life of Veronica.
Yes, I am the woman of many, many hats. Right now, I'm very much in the prototyping and developing the MVP. So a lot of my day, I'd say, is the product design hat where, I am finishing building out all of the modules for our MVP and, I'm setting up meetings with people who are either going through loss or maybe have a friend or loved one with a serious illness. So I'm having them test out, the website and give me feedback. So I'd say a significant chunk involves that and meeting with my technical intern to help me make any updates. Another big piece is the business development aspect. So for us, one of our core modules is we have a curated resource hub where we highlight, grief therapists, hospice providers, funeral homes, all of the resources that you tend to need during this journey, but have no idea of where to source or who might be an expert in the field. We've done that research and that work for our customers, and we even have member reviews and recommendations. So another big chunk of my day goes into connecting, with all of the local experts and hospice providers and introducing ourselves and building those partnerships and trying to get discount for our members and any special services that might make our customers lives a little bit easier as they're navigating the process.
Gotcha, gotcha. So I know we kind of touched on uh why you went into business for yourself and all that. I'm curious, what has the journey been to this point with, building everything? I know you said that you're, doing a lot of it with AI tools and stuff like that. Has it been difficult to kind of figure out and maneuver and manage it all?
It definitely has. Especially as a first time founder, while in my prior career I worked across a lot of businesses and different initiatives, I think there's a lot of self-doubt along the way, right? And especially when you're building and trying to really think through, are you, giving customers the right thing? Are you focusing on the right thing? And you start to hear about, competitors and what others are doing. And it's very easy to doubt yourself and try to figure out, if what you're doing is the right thing. Where we did get very, very fortunate and what was, a good catalyst for us is that very early into creating Good Grief, Austin FC has like a yearly entrepreneurship competition called the Austin FC Dream Starter Competition. And they choose a local entrepreneur and the winner gets $100,000. And we were incredibly fortunate to be the winner for
Oh wow.
2025. So that was a huge impetus to me really being like, okay, I think there's something here, and really focusing on it full time, and talking to all of the people that we've interviewed, we just consistently hear like, oh my gosh, yes, you're right, we didn't have these resources, this was so hard, I wish I had had support. And almost everyone just talks about how desperately they needed support in the area. So that's been an upside to it, that like we are getting a lot of traction and interest. So that's been helpful to keep us going through the hard times and the self-doubt.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. So, I'm curious, are there any competitors in this market? Do you guys have any competition?
What is currently happening is there's a lot of great services, but they're highly fragmented. So
Mm.
there really isn't anyone that does the entire spectrum of the journey in terms of holding your hand from start to finish. So, for example, you have Trust and Will that does a really great job of helping you, get your trust and your will, or you have care.com that does a really good job of helping you find maybe in-home nursing support. And then, you have the funeral homes that really just kind of do the funeral services. But it's left to you, the customer, to know how to piece everything together, know where to turn to next. And it honestly becomes incredibly challenging. And there's so much time spent trying to find the right resources. So there isn't really one great resource that pulls everything together. Probably the closest would be empathy, which does a really good job of helping connect the dots. But unfortunately, they're only B2B. So to be able to access them, you have to either have your employer pay for the benefit or have your insurance pay for the benefit, which leaves a lot of regular people like you and me, unable to get that type of support.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. So it sounds like the main way that you're able to stand out against the competition is just being able to be like, hey, kind of like similar to the knot, you're able to kind of like provide all the services that you need, and that way someone could just go to one website and then there's extra external links or people to contact, things like that.
Exactly. Yes. We're hoping to be that one-stop shop that can guide you and connect you with everything you need the entire through the entire journey.
Gotcha. Awesome. What is one thing that you wish more people knew about your business?
I think, you know, again, as I mentioned, it's a little taboo. Most of us don't want to talk about it or think about it, but it's never too early to talk about it until it's kind of too late, right? So I think it is such a beautiful gift to your family and to your loved ones to give them peace of mind, to have those conversations, to set up support to help manage this very, very difficult time. And I think they'd be surprised about how peaceful and how insightful it can be to have these conversations early on. So that would be what I would share.
Gotcha. Awesome. So, kind of transitioning a little bit to marketing. I know that y'all haven't launched the product yet and you're still in prototype building. Do you guys have like a launch plan with any type of marketing strategies or anything like that?
Yeah, so something that we do have out and that we've started to do is we have our care packages out in the market. And part of how we're trying to market this is, so often when someone is experiencing loss or a serious illness, you don't quite know what to say or how to help them. Like you send flowers or casseroles, but I can tell you after going through it with my dad that like what you really need is support when you're going through it. So we created these care packages with these really thoughtfully curated tools to help you, either process grief or rest and recover. And every single one of our care packages includes access to our platform, 3-month access so that you can give them really, really meaningful support. So right now we're spending, we're trying to really boost our advertising in terms of building awareness so that when people hear of a friend or a loved one going through this, the first thing they think of is, hey, I'm going to send them a good grief care package to support them. And then our goal is we're building a lot of partnerships with hospice providers, oncologists, funeral homes, so that we can help highlight them and the great resource they provide, but also since they are so immersed with a lot of our end customers, they can also help bring awareness about the great resources. So we've been creating these helpful guides and leave behinds that we're sharing with many of these providers, so that they start to create more awareness and bring people to our platform.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. I know that you brought up the casseroles. My mom, whenever she went through some grief stuff, she got so tired of people that just like send casseroles. She was like, I don't want to eat any more casseroles. I want people to be here to talk about it and like
Yeah,
not making your food and then just leaving. Um,
absolutely. And to your point, I think community is a big part of it, which is I think also a big differentiator that we have in our platform. When you join, you're also getting access to other people that are going through it, right? It can feel a little bit isolating to talk about it, and it can feel like maybe friends or others don't get the loss of someone or when someone's sick. And here, you have access to other people that are going through the exact situation. We have workshops from grief therapists or estate lawyers. We actually have a really good grief workshop coming up about grief in the holidays that as a member you can participate in, and even office hours and concierge services if you just need support for someone to help lighten the load or hear you out.
yeah, that's awesome. Um, so do you have like a a roadmap whenever it comes to like building a team? Like, do you want to get more team members on board and things like that?
Yeah, that is definitely the goal. Right now, I'd say over the next 2 months and with the holidays, we're focusing a lot more on just getting user inputs, tweaking our MVP, and just starting to get a sense of what features are resonating the most with our customers and our users. But my hope is that come January, February, once we have a better idea of what is it that is really resonating with our customers, we can begin to expand. So, for example, I do have someone that I've already interviewed, and we have some early contracts signed for our concierge services that will help us expand. So, definitely thinking of a lot of expansion there in terms of pulling in social workers and hospice providers and people that can provide support for those services. And then also, as we begin to expand as well, and our goal is to start in Austin, but go nationally and then eventually globally, probably looking to expand the team from a business development standpoint and then from a technical standpoint once we begin to delve deeper into our long-term sustainable solution.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you said that you had a background in corporate and stuff. How would you describe your leadership style in business?
Yeah, I think that is one area where I was fortunate. Like with consulting, a lot of what I was taught was to develop and mentor others. The company I worked with had a culture that was very much of like you give back and you mentor, the analysts and the senior consultants and whatnot, and you teach and you kind of pave the path forward. So I do think that that is a lot of my leadership style. Like I value very much making sure that people, are invested in the work, but that they're also passionate and excited about what they do, and that we're creating good work-life balance and also meaningful impact for our customers. So I think my leadership style really tends to prioritize finding how to motivate those in my team, understanding what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and setting them up in a way that really allows them to be successful. So I do think I was very fortunate to learn through great leaders along the way, and I've been very purposeful in trying to do that with my teams, and have thankfully had great outcomes where I've frequently had people that consistently wanted to work with my teams and help out. So that's been beneficial.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, as we kind of get to closer to our wrap up point, I do have a couple rapid fire questions for you if you're
Sure.
ready.
Yeah, that sounds great.
What is the key to success for you?
I think the key to success is creating something that truly makes an impact for the better, that helps people's lives and improves their experience as they're navigating this difficult time. So if in the future it's like I help two or I help thousands, just knowing that, it is truly making someone's life easier will be success for me.
Yeah. What is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
I'd say, there can be a lot of hesitation into, do I jump into it? Do I not? Is it the right move? And I, I'm a firm believer that if you are trying to do the right thing, or trying to be helpful, or trying to create a great product, people will come, support will come. I do feel like I've experienced that a lot with the grant, with the interns, with the advisors. I'm really trying to keep my head down and focus on building something that really is helpful. So I would say the same to other owners, like have the right principles and priorities and focus on your customer and providing value. And I think the rest will come.
Awesome. What is a book or podcast you're reading or listening to right now?
So actually I'm listening to a startup book. I think it's called, I'm looking it up right now because the title, it's called Starting a Startup, and it's by James Sinclair. So I was reading that one, and it's been very helpful in just almost having like a fractional advisor in terms of what to prioritize and
Yeah.
how to measure success.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so this is kind of a fun question that I always like to ask. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could choose one spot in your business to sprinkle it and everything would be perfect, where would it be and why?
I do think maybe the technical aspect, no code solutions are great, but they take time. I do wish that I could just be like, this is exactly what I'm envisioning. And, like the
Yeah.
platform is up and running and it's quick and it's not as costly and I can easily tweak. So that would be really helpful in getting to where I need to be quicker.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Well, before we get to the final question of the day, would you want to share with our audience how they can follow you, learn more, contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is joingoodgrief.com, and it's the same for our Instagram. So we're Join Good Grief. And my email, if anyone would love to reach out, I'd love to hear, if anyone is experiencing loss or serious illness, we have the prototype. We're looking for early testers, or if anyone, really resonates with the mission, I'd love to hear from you. My email is veronica@joingoodgrief.com.
Awesome. Well, we've come to the final question of the day, and that is, what is most inspiring to you today?
I think it is in this, business. I do hear a lot about people's heartache and their loss and the difficult times, but it's so inspiring to see the resilience in people and see their ability to give back and kind of their ability to choose love and to help others. Yesterday, I was talking to someone who experienced 11 losses in 5 years.
Wow.
And, you just see someone going through so much pain, yet she was so willing to share and be a resource to others and figure out how to help others through the journey. So it's very inspiring to see how we all come together during the tough times and how we all support each other. So I think that that's been one of the most inspiring things.
Yeah. Well, Veronica, I gotta say, I love what you're building and I love what you're creating. Something like this, I think, is something that is needed. And yeah, I just encourage everyone here that's listening, to try and follow Good Grief as they're going on their journey. And if any of y'all go through a loss or anything like that, definitely reach out to these services because I think it will help you a ton. I also encourage all of you watching to save this show and come back and watch it again because Veronica really did have some great insights for business. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and get notifications every time a new conversation drops, just like this one. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and a special thanks to you, Veronica, for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it, and the pleasure's all mine.
I will see you all in the next episode.